Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Burning Abyss deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because this deck has changed up a lot since the last time I profiled it, especially since Fairy Tale Snow got hit on the last list. I'm really excited to show you guys all the changes I made to this deck, so without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of Notification Squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like getting your name scripture in a single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your patron. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Skarm Malebranche of the Burning Abyss. This card is an absolutely insane card, and all of your Burning Abyss monsters share a common effect. That if you control a monster that is not a Burning Abyss monster, destroy this card. And you can only use one of the following effects of each of your Burning Abyss monsters per turn. Now they all share the effect that if you control no spell or trap cards, you can special summon them from the hand, but then they all have unique effects. Now Skarm's unique effect is during the end phase. If this card is in the graveyard because it was sent there this turn, you can add a level 3 Dark Fiend type monster from your deck to your hand, except another copy of this card, which is an awesome effect. I then play 3 copies of Graf Malebranche of the Burning Abyss. This card is a great 3-of as well that has the ability, if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can special summon a Burning Abyss monster from your deck, except another copy of this card. I then play 3 copies of Seer Malebranche of the Burning Abyss. Seer is really good as well, and this card has the ability, if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target one Burning Abyss monster in your graveyard, except another copy of this card, and special summon it. I then play 2 copies of Farfa. Shout outs to Farfa. This card is a great 2-of. I almost played 3 copies of this card, but I ended up with just 2 with all the other cards I'm playing in this deck. But this card is a really good 2-of that if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target one monster on the field and banish it until the end phase, which is a really good effect just to get a monster off the field. I then play 2 copies of Libic. Libic is a really good 2-of as well in this deck that if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can special summon a level 3 Dark Fiend type monster from your hand, but its effects are negated, which will bypass the ability that they destroy themselves if you control another monster besides a Burning Abyss monster, which is a pretty good effect. I then play a single copy of Barbar. Barbar is a good 1-of in here. I only feel like you need a single copy of Barbar, but it has the ability, if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target up to 3 Burning Abyss cards in your graveyard, except another copy of this card, and banish them. And if you do, inflict 300 points of damage to your opponent for each card banished, which is an awesome effect just to do some burn damage against the opponent. I then play a single copy of Alec. I only feel like you need a single copy of Alec in this build that has the ability, if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target a face-up monster on the field and negate its effects into the end phase, which is an awesome effect, but 1 copy of this card is totally fine. I'm then playing 2 copies of Tour Guide. Tour Guide is a really good 2-of in the deck. It's a really good normal summon, but you kind of want to watch out for this card because it will get Ash Blossomed a lot, and it's just a really good 2-of in this build that has the ability, when this card is normal summon, you can special summon 1 level 3 Fiend monster from your hand or deck to your side of the field, but its effects are negated and it can't be used for Synchro Summon, which is totally fine because all we're pretty much going into in this deck is Lynx and XZs. But this card is still a really good 2-of. You just don't want to make it the first card out of your hand because it will get ashed, and then you do get stuck with a monster on the field that is not a Burning Abyss, so all of your other Burning Abysses in your hand kind of become useless. I then play a single copy of Fiendish Rhino Warrior. Fiendish Rhino Warrior is a really good 1-of in this deck. The Fiend type monsters that you control, except Fiendish Rhino Warrior, cannot be destroyed by battle or by card effects, essentially protecting your BA monsters from themselves, which is really cool. I really like that effect, to just be able to turn off the effect that they destroy themselves, which is really good. And this card is also a Foolish Burial, that if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can send a Fiend type monster from your deck to the graveyard, except another copy of this card, which is an awesome effect just to get an additional monster in the graveyard. I definitely think this card is the best card to be able to summon off your copy of Tour Guide, because then you can make a copy of Dante or leave it on the field to be able to protect your BA monsters from themselves. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Foolish Burial. Foolish Burial is a really good 1-of in the deck to be able to send any of your BA monsters to the graveyard to get any of their absolutely insane effects. I'm playing a single copy of Galaxy Cyclone. This card is just really good to mill to the graveyard. I love this card because you can banish this card from your graveyard and then target a face-up spell or trap card on the field and destroy it, but you can't activate this card's effect the turn it was sent to the graveyard, which is the only downside of this card, but it's really good for setup just to be able to pop a spell or trap, like Mystic Mine, that your opponent might put on the field. I then play 3 copies of my personal attack in the deck, and that is going to be 3 copies of Mass Change 2. I think this card is just really good this format with tier limit running around, especially with how easy it is in this deck to make your copy of Dark Law later on in the game. I really love this card, especially when you flip it during your opponent's draw phase, standby phase, or after they've made their first effect to mill cards. This card is just absolutely insane to be able to make your copy of Dark Law. I love this card, this format, and it's just so good in this deck, especially when you back it up with all the trap cards that we're playing. It's super easy to pull off because all you have to do is discard a card, target a face-up monster that you control that has a level, send it to the graveyard, and also after that, if it left the field by this effect, you special summon 1 extra deck masked hero monster with the same attribute as that monster, but with a higher level than the monster you sent, which is easy to do because we do play pretty much all darks in the deck. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Trap Trick. Trap Trick is still really good in this deck to be able to give us access to every single trap in this deck. This card has the ability to banish 1 normal trap from your deck, except Trap Trick, and set 1 trap with the same name directly from your deck to your side of the field that has the same name as the card you just banished. This card also has the ability that for the rest of the turn, you can only activate 1 trap card, which is the only downside to this card, but it's really good to get us to that 1 really powerhouse trap that we need that turn. I then play 2 copies of Lost Wind. Lost Wind is really good in the deck because it works when it's milled, which is really nice. It has the ability to you can target a face-up special summon monster on the field, negate its effects, also its original attack is halved, and if a monster is special summoned from your opponent's extra deck while this card is in your graveyard, except during the damage step, you can set this card back to your field but banish it when it leaves the field, which is a really good effect, especially if you mill it to the graveyard off your copy of Dante. You can just set it back to the field and use it again if your opponent special summons a monster from the extra deck. I really love that effect. I then play 3 copies of Fiend Griefing. Fiend Griefing is still really good in this deck. You get to target a monster in your opponent's graveyard, shuffle it back into the deck, then you can send a Fiend monster from your deck to the graveyard, which will make all of your BA monsters go off, which is really good. Especially getting that 1 key combo piece that your opponent needs in the graveyard out of the graveyard is just really powerful. And I really love it with Trap Trick because pretty much any trap card we play in the deck as a 3-of becomes a 5-of with our copy of Trap Trick because we can instantly get to it with Trap Trick. I then play 3 copies of Dynamiscus. Dynamiscus is a really good 3-of in the deck. This card has the ability you can target a face-up card on the field, discard a card, and if you do, banish it, which is a great effect to be able to just get a card out of our hand that might be a BA that we want to activate, and get rid of a card that our opponent controls, and it's banished, which is extremely powerful this format to banish our opponent's cards. This card is just really good as a 1-of in the deck. It can bring itself to your side of the field as a monster, which is pretty good just for a little bit of protection, and it's just a fantastic card. I then play 3 copies of Torrential Tribute. Torrential Tribute is a really good comboed with our copy of Dark Law. I absolutely love this card. It's just super good overall that when a monster is summoned, you destroy all monsters on the field. I really love that effect that it just destroys all the monsters that our opponent might have and destroys all of our monsters, which all of our BA monsters will go off, which is really nice. I love this card as a 3-of in the deck. It's a really awesome card just to be able to deal with all the opponent's boss monsters that they might make. I then play 3 copies of Ice Dragon's Prison. Ice Dragon's Prison is just super powerful in this format because you get to target a monster in your opponent's graveyard and special summon it to your field, but its effects are negated. Then you can banish a monster from both players' fields that have the same type as each other, which is super good in this deck to be able to just deal with an opponent's monster. If you do pop a monster on the field with, like, say, Torrential Tribute, you can get it back and use this card basically as a monster reborn to get that monster onto our side of the field, which is really good. Or if your opponent has a monster on the field that needs to be banished, you can bring a monster from their graveyard back that has the same type and just get rid of them both, which is really cool about this card. I love Ice Dragon's Prison in this deck. I'm then playing 3 copies of Dimensional Barrier. Dimensional Barrier is just too good not to main deck, especially with Trap Trick. And this card is just so good because being able to shut down an entire mechanic from the extra deck is just so good. Being able to stop Ritual, Fusion, Synchro, XZ, or Pendulum is really good. The only thing this doesn't stop is Link monsters, but that's totally fine because being able to stop fusions is going to be the main thing we're going to be aiming for with this card. So this card is a definite 3-of in the deck, and playing Trap Trick with this card turns this card into a 5-of, so we will always have access to our copy of Dimensional Barrier. So that's it for the traps, guys, and the main deck. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Dante. Dante is just a really good 2-of. You really don't need 3 copies of this card. It's super good because basically you just mill 3 against 500 attack for every card that you mill, which is super good. And this card is just fantastic because after it attacks, it switches itself to defense position, which is an absolutely insane effect that it just switches itself because it'll go back down to 1,000 at the end phase. And if this card is sent to the graveyard, then you can target a Burning Abyss card in your graveyard, accept this card, and add it back to the hand, which is super powerful. We then play a single copy of Beatrice because we can make it on top of Dante. This card is a Foolish Burial, which is really good and a fantastic 1-of in the deck. I then play a single copy of Azura King. Azura King is really good in this deck. This card is absolutely insane for OTK because while this card has material, it can attack a number of times each battle phase up to the number of materials attached to it, which since all of our BA monsters are super small, we can attach multiple BA monsters to this card and attack multiple times with this card, which is really good. And at the start of the damage step, if this card battles, it gains 200 attack points permanently, which is really good. I love that effect that it just gains 200 attack points for battling. And when another monster effect is activated, quick effect, you can detach your material from this card, negate the activation if you do destroy that card, and you can only use this effect of Azura King once per turn to have the negate. But the attacking multiple times and the 200 attack point gains are as many times as it can attack, which is really cool. I then play Double Downer Magician. Double Downer Magician is in here because we can make it on top of any of our rank 3 monsters to be able to make one of our 2 Zeuses, because we do play 2 Zeuses in this deck just to be able to board wipe. I absolutely love Zeus in the deck. It's fantastic being able to just board wipe with this card. I then play a single copy of Masked Hero Darklaw. This card is absolutely insane in this format. It must be special summoned with Mass Change. You can special summon it with Mass Change too, and cannot be special summoned by other ways. Any card sent to your opponent's graveyard is banished instead, which is super good in this deck. And also this card kind of works like an Ash Blossom because once per turn, if your opponent adds a card from their deck to their hand, except during the draw phase or damage step, then you can banish a random card from your opponent's hand, which is super powerful just to get rid of opponent's card and of their hand. And then play a single copy of Boral Sword just to OTK. This card is just really good overall. You can't play Access Code Talker, but I just like this card because I'm pretty much only playing Dark Link monsters, which is really good about this deck, that you can make this card in just OTK. Play a single copy of Unicorn to spin stuff. Dark the Dark Charmer Gloomy because we do play a bunch of Darks in the deck, and we can bring Dark monsters back from the opponent's graveyard with this card, which is super good. IB Masquerade to be able to make Unicorn during the opponent's turn. One copy of Cherubini because this card is one of the best cards in the entire extra deck, and it's just super good, being a walking Foolish Burial. And then finally a single copy of Gravity Controller because we can make this card over our Dante and then be able to use Dante's effect while also getting a really good Link monster on the field. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. This deck is super fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played a BA, you definitely should. It's actually really budget to be able to pick up BA, which is really nice. And the deck is just really powerful because you can throw basically any traps you want to in the build and just go in with the deck. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell and there's the income bar notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.